All right, this is a Fireside Chat, driving app growth and engagement and keeping the CX at the core. We'd like to welcome Srinivas Veluvolu, Head of Performance Marketing at Seera Group, where he's responsible for driving marketing for the group's brands Al Musafir and Lumi. This is Srinivas. A little applause for Srinivas. Thank you. Srinivas is a data-driven marketer who's been into performance marketing for over 9 years across financial and travel verticals. He's also worked in companies like Bank Bazaar and ClearTrip in the past. Feel free, you can have a seat, make yourself comfortable. Also welcoming the moderator, Jesika Dalal. Come on up, Jesika. She's the Director of Marketing for Branch. Yes, yes, you got it. Jesika is a marketing leader with over 2 decades of marketing experience, having worked with leading tech brands like IBM and Microsoft. Srinivas and Jesika, take it away.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are we audible to you guys? Awesome. Thank you very much and good morning. I hope you've been having some great sessions at the start of the day. And I would like to welcome Srini. I'm going to not call him by his entire name, Srinivas, but Srini to the Fireside Chat today. And I'm sure all of us love to travel, and he's a part of Seera Group. I'm sure all of you would be using the apps Al Musafir and Lumi. So extremely happy to have you over here, Srini.
Thanks, Jesika. Thanks for the welcome.
Thank you very much. So 2 things I think which we're going to really address in this short Fireside Chat is really how do you keep customers at your core to drive mobile growth is really the essence of our conversation today. And I don't know if we will have time for any questions from the audience, but let me just shoot away. So first and foremost, Srini, congratulations to you and your team for posting a very robust Q2. I was just reading some news items around that. So it's fantastic to see Seera Group post this entire group. Now, in terms of travel, I think post-COVID, it was one of the worst hit.
True.
But then today, as people take on revenge travel, I'm sure that's a phrase every one of us would have heard, as well as with FIFA happening in this region, I'm sure the timing could not be, better. So how would you describe, what are you seeing as the opportunity, and how is the group really gearing up for this growth?
So I think, right, so when the pandemic hit, we knew it was a very hard time for all of us, right? But we were sure that if we kept doing the right things, what customer needs, we know travel will bounce back at some point in time, and we know we'll be in the forefront of getting that business back, right? So during the pandemic, as an organization, we invested a lot more into understanding what the customer, what customer wants. Obviously, due to the pandemic, the research that the customer does when they want to travel or how they want to travel would change. So understanding that was also a key focus for us. So over a period of time, basically we tried understanding that and started building basically products that can help that customer make that decision. And fortunately, really worked out well for us. So we've been going really fast. And we are the market leaders in the Saudi Arabia right now. So that's all because of the hard work what we did through in the last couple of years. So we've also seen that, as you mentioned, revenge travel is something that we've seen. People haven't traveled for quite some time, and I think when restriction got lifted, I think that just surge started kicking in, and we then realized that, hey, what we did was actually making sense, and it really helped the customers to figure out what they want to do, and also help them along the way. So that's how we were able to actually grow during this time.
Got it. And how would you see the entire customer experience play into your strategy, especially from the app business, because we're going to talk about more from a mobile marketing and really customer experience as an intersection, right? So how are you seeing that really play into your growth plans?
So if we look at Saudi as a market, right, or even other 2 markets that we're present in, we definitely know that it's mobile first market, because a lot of people are on their devices, they spend a lot of time on their devices. So we knew that the products that we need to cater have to be mobile first. So so basically we were focusing on that. So we've launched a couple of products where people were able to understand the travel restrictions dynamically on the fly based on how things were dynamically changing. Two, we also created like an explore section of sorts where people can actually go and figure out what they can do in a certain destination. Hey, let's say I want to travel to Dubai. Hey, what can I do in Dubai? So it kind of helped customers build that. So we're focusing on that aspect. So over time, those products really helped customers, and it kind of started getting us a good growth on the apps part. That having said that, like we also focused on letting users understand that app ecosystem offers a lot more than like your web general browsing. So we've used like a host of products to let users understand the benefits that they get if they move to the app, the added functionalities, the added benefits that they get, and we started like giving those feedback to the customer so that like they can think about what value that app is going to drive to them, and then make them install the app. So we've been doing that, and I think one of the important things that we did was journeys, right? Like that really helped us, because contextually you can actually have a message based on where the customer is on the website, and that also helped us fuel the app growth.
So you're actually driving a person who's on the website in a particular page onto your app so that he can have, or she can have, a better experience.
Correct.
Got it. And what was the impact of iOS announcements? Because I understand at that particular point of time, between I think 2019, 2020, when they made the announcements, and then you had that entire thing being rolled out, and especially with Saudi in your cohort, iOS is quite deeply penetrated.
True.
So how did you manage to manage that transition?
I think generally app tracking transparency, I think the moment Apple announced it, it was a scary thing for all marketers, as we all know, because like the amount of data points that we used to get prior to that and that we will get after that, I think is literally a lot of change, right? So what we did was we stuck to our principles. We knew that if we keep offering great experience to the customers, irrespective of the data points that we get in understanding those customers, it will still keep working out. So we basically started working with a couple of partners who can basically help us understand that. So over a period of time, built those anonymized events as well to understand if, like, let's say you're acquiring customers from a certain channel ABC, what would you use, what metrics would you look at, or what kind of anonymized events would you look at to understand the quality that you're actually getting from those channels, right? And when you knew that, like, you can then start optimizing your campaigns, your communication, and your bids accordingly, and that kind of helped us also grow on like the app piece.
Got it. And let me kind of switch gears to especially around app acquisition, because I think that's one of the big things all marketers struggle with, right? How have you leveraged the mix of paid versus organic? Because I think initially there's a lot of focus around paid, but as you move forward, how do you manage the entire fine balance?
So I generally believe, right, like paid and organic go hand in hand with each other. I think it's more of a foundational construct. So as an organization, like, we generally believe that a healthy mix of both is something that helps a brand sustain and grow over a long period of time. Obviously, being heavy on one specific side is generally quite risky to be. So so the idea was, obviously, right, like, it also depends on where the stage of the company as well. Like, if you're an extremely growth focused company, obviously, like, your organic part takes in time, like takes a couple of quarters or years to start kicking in that benefit, right? So it depends on where you are as a stage from a stature of the company. If you are extremely growth focused and you want to drive growth at any cost, then obviously it will be paid heavy, right? But being in the ecosystem that, like, we've been here for quite some time, so we knew that it has to be foundational. So we've started focusing on both aspects, and we basically, like, the whole idea is how do we build our ecosystem in such a way that there's a scissor cut at some point in time, right? Like, you have your paid strategy, you have your organic strategy, and over a period of time your organic keeps increasing, and you can start reducing your dependency on paid. So and while you are doing all the other things associated, like with respect to helping customers understand or like help them really for what they actually came to the app for. So when you keep doing that, these two alongside will generally help you kick off a bigger app ecosystem, right? Like, you'll generally get a lot of app downloads happening, and that also translates into word of mouth as well, right? So a combination of these three things from a focus standpoint really helped us grow. So focus on app from day one, focus on app from an organic point from day one, while also then focusing on how do you understand the customer, create your customer personas, and then start relevant advertising to these cohorts, and also helping once the customer is on the platform, being contextually relevant to that customer, like builds that whole ecosystem, and over a period of time, it generally helps us to be at a stage where you don't need to be heavy on both sides.
That's very, very impressive to hear, because I think to have the entire, foundation, as you called it, is very, very important.
True.
Because after some time you tend to lose steam, because how much money will
True.
you be able to put into paid, and having that balance is very, very important. Let me move on from acquisition to engagement, because engagement is again a very, very critical component of mobile growth, because you have to, the money which you're spending on acquiring those users, but then how do you engage with them so that you're able to translate into better ROI from a customer acquisition cost perspective, as well as retain them, because you want them to definitely stick with your platform. So what's been your experience, and how have you been driving that?
So I think from an engagement and retention standpoint, right, the key focus what we have as an organization, or what we've been doing, right, at least like in the past 4-5 years, is to extremely focus on adding relevancy to the customer, adding value to the customer, rather than just being extremely sales focused and like being sell. So just to give an example on how we handle, right, like when a customer generally installs our app, or comes to our website for the first time, we kind of have an onboarding journey that helps the customer understand what our product is, takes them to the nitty-gritties of where he or she can find the relevant information for what they are looking at, and once they are done with that, right, like then any kind of personalization that will any kind of information that they share with us, we use that information to really personalize their experience as they move forward. Doing push notifications or sending emailers or SMSs, right? It's all based on, can we add value by sending it, rather than can we drive a sale out of it. So I think that's the focus what we have, because we're trying to add value to customers' life. It kind of also works out from a sales standpoint. So that's how we generally, as an organization, focus on driving value through engagement and retention.
Awesome. Because in fact, in our conversation which we were having earlier, one of the things which Srini shared was about how you don't go and plague the customer with intense sales, and really use the insights which you gather.
Correct.
To actually go and reach out to them, which is great to hear that. So I think going besides the entire Seera Group perspective which you've had, what would you share with everyone over here as a performance marketing leader, as to what would be the 3 things which you think is the mantra for really driving mobile growth and engagement?
So if I have to pick the top 3 things, I would actually start off with understanding your customer first, because like we've done all of these mistakes at the start of our careers, right? Like we jump into implementing a solution that we know had worked or will work. I think that is a mindset that as a marketer we should all change, because every customer is different, every market is different, and every challenge is different. So understanding who is your customer is the most important thing that I would generally focus on. Then once you understand that, you are able to also segment personas in that cohort, right? Like obviously you have different range of customers that come to your platform. So understanding who those customers are and how do you find them online would be your next key. So once you know that, then tweaking your communication, right? Your ads, your any kind of informational videos that putting out are customized to that persona. So it kind of helps build that relevancy again, and that kind of helps with efficiency, driving efficiency. So better CTRs, better engagement rates, better conversion rates. So it generally helps to hold the funnel, and that would be one key focus that I would start off with. The second, as I earlier mentioned, right, like I think organic plus paid go hand in hand, right? Like it's not like you have to first do paid and then organic is an afterthought, right? So I think starting off with how do we like when you plan for both, right? Like how do you, like at 6 points in 6 months in time, where do you want to be in your organic growth? Like what is your target rank that you want to achieve on App Store, like on your Play Store? So taking those targets and trying to work back on what you will need to do to get to that, I think is also a key focus. Apart from that, like the third party is again, like a lot of marketers also like focus on driving engagement out of these installs as well, like that we drive or get, or all the users that we acquire, we also want to drive that engagement. But engagement, like there's a bit of falsity as well, because a lot of users do also come back and engage, because every user is different, right? Like for example, you as a user can come back a day later after you install and engage. Me as a user can come back in 3 days, right? So how do you understand that, and how do you really run your engagement campaigns that can truly, that can actually add benefit incrementally, is I think also a key thing that you have to figure out. So it would be different for different brand, different for different product platform, but I think that would be the third key focus area that I would focus on, so that like you can like crack every corner of this ecosystem.
That's awesome. Thank you, Srini, for sharing insights around how you have driven mobile growth and engagement at Seera Group. And I'm sure that I know that the time is up, but if you would like to understand more about mobile growth and engagement, you can contact me or my colleagues at the branch booth outside. So thank you very much, Srini, for coming and talking to the entire white market.
Thanks, Jesika, and thanks everyone for making time of your busy schedule.
Thank you very much.
Yo, look at that.